3 separate brawls, outsider, Chinese troops and more, most detailed account of the brutal June 15 Galwan battle. 3 separate brawls divided by time and space. Chinese troops who aren't normally deployed at Patrol Point 14. And, a young Indian Army team that took a decision to cross the line of actual control, lacked to square things up with the Chinese Army. The contours of the June 15 bloodletting have become cleared. Plenty has been written so far about the clash between Indian and Chinese troops in Ladakh's Galwan Valley. But contradictory claims, and gaps in the narrative have so far left the story bereft of cohesiveness. Several questions have remained unanswered, with individual aspects lending themselves to speculation and guesswork. Now with a series of conversations with Army personnel in the Galwan Valley, thanks A and Lay, India Today TV pieces together the most detailed account so far of how things played out. The context is well known. 10 days prior, Lieutenant General level talks had taken place and disengagement between both sides had begun at Patrol Point 14, since both had mobilized very close to the line of actual control. A Chinese observation post, which had been set up at the vertex of the bend in the Galwan River was proven, during talks, to be on the Indian side of the Ladakh, and an agreement had been reached to remove it. A few days after talks the post was dismantled by the Chinese. Commanding officer of the 16 Bihar Infantry Battalion controlling the area Colonel B. Santosh Babu even held talks with a counterpart Chinese officer on the day after the Chinese dismantled the camp. But on June 14, the camp unexpectedly re-emerged overnight. At around 5 p.m. on June 15, while the sun was still very much up, Colonel Babu decided to personally lead a team to the camp. Having spoken just a few days prior with the other side, the commanding officer is said to have wondered whether there had been a mistake. While young officers and Jawans were raring to remove the Chinese post themselves, Colonel Babu, known to be a highly sober, cool-headed officer who had in a previous stint also served as a company commander in the area, decided to personally go. In normal course, a company commander, major rank, would probably have been sent to check. But Colonel Babu decided not to leave it to youngsters in the unit. It is important to remember here that tempers were not up. The young officers and Jawans were simply motivated by the prospect of a task in a narrow river valley that has seen nearly no tactical disputes of any kind, and where troops on either side have actually been quite friendly. Colonel Santosh Babu, commanding officer of the 16 Bihar Infantry Battalion. File photo. At 7 p.m., Colonel Babu along with a team of about 35 men, including 2 majors, proceeded on foot to the post. The mood in the team was not one of belligerence, but rather of inquiry. When they reached the Chinese camp, the first thing the Indian team noticed was that the Chinese troops didn't seem familiar, they weren't the PLA troops normally deployed in the area. The men of 16 Bihar had built familiarity with the Chinese unit, and had expected to run into troops and officers they already knew. The fresh faces was the first surprise. It has been assessed during a debrief that the new Chinese troops at the offending post were from a pool freshly diverted from a PLA exercise in Tibet in the second half of May. Also read, after bloodshed, Army engineers toil 72 hours to finish Galwan bridge that triggered China.